Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. A warm welcome to all our attendees today from across the globe. Thank you so much for joining us for this webinar on using test automation to address agile testing challenges. I'm Lisa Glenn, your host and presenter for today's session, and joining me as the expert speaker is Garima Mishra, the agile testing expert from the Impetus Labs. So let's go ahead and take a look at what today's session has in store for us. Organizations globally are adopting Agile Development methodology for enhanced collaboration and for faster delivery. Agile not only ensures well-aligned software with business requirements, but it also helps to achieve continuous improvement throughout the product development lifecycle. However, adopting Agile in the testing practice is not always an easy feat and unfortunately has many associated challenges. Now, in our session today, we're going to highlight how test automation can actually help address the pertinent problems encountered in testing time-boxed Agile projects. We're also going to share with you how to achieve optimum coverage and quicker delivery using test automation, as well as share some real-world examples with you. But first, let's go ahead and understand the basic Agile principles. Agile is a set of software development principles that emphasize individuals over process and tools, working software over documentation, collaboration over contracts, and responding to change over following the plan. Now, through Agile, organizations can collaborate with its customers by demoing the live and working software to them, and they can also accommodate early feedback from their customers to ensure that the software is always usable. But there are some important challenges associated with Agile testing, and let's go ahead and discuss those now. More and more companies are moving toward the Agile software delivery approach. And as a result of this, we can see newer challenges and dynamics cropping up along the way. Now, some of them may be selecting appropriate tools that are usable as well as flexible, encouraging the whole team to contribute toward the tests, enabling open source integration, and promoting test-driven development. Moving on to the lean and agile has a profound impact on the testing practice. The role of the testers, test managers, and just overall approach towards product testing changes rapidly and from all the sides. Now, these changes come with their own sets of questions and challenges, some of which include technical problems, challenges faced due to distributed teams, and that of an individual tester in the Agile team. In Agile development methodology, at times, you are not able to keep track of the amount and speed of changes in user stories, requirements, or code. There is a high probability that these sudden changes, unfortunately, may not be shared with the test group, and as a result, the test team may miss out on some relevant information. So the big question in such a scenario is, what do you test since the requirements just aren't clear? Let me go ahead and share an example. Our team was testing an application and verifying the access control functionality. After spending considerable efforts on a particular module, the team was told that that particular requirement had become obsolete. Now, just imagine the team's frustration and consternation when they realized that they wasted hours and considerable effort in testing and filing defects for an obsolete requirement. This wasted time could have been easily avoided if an update was made and just reflected in the user stories. The other question that pops up now is that since we don't know what we're testing, how can we be sure about the expected results? The teams can further have challenges such as providing continuous collaboration, especially with the cross-functional and geographically scattered teams. And it's also difficult to find ways and means to ensure that collaboration among the testing, development, business teams, and other stakeholders is taking place. Other issues include gauging where you are in the process and warranting transparency in the task status. A tester can also face issues due to shifting roles as well as due to the lack of visibility, knowledge transfer, and alignment with development. We believe that synchronizing testing and development is absolutely essential for quicker and reliable delivery. But this in turn leads to another challenge, which is how to keep up synchronized testing with development. All these questions and examples are directing us to the fact that lack of relevant information, exact status, and consistent speed are among the main bottlenecks in testing Agile projects. And now let's have a deeper look into some of these problem areas. In Agile, working software is the primary measure of progress. However, at times requirements are not regularly updated, and as Agile mandates that the documentation should be kept light. Now, as a result, the user stories are not updated regularly, and like I mentioned, and the testing team continues to work on the older versions. Now, another issue with Agile development is the frequently changing requirements. Due to this, the code is refactored quite often, therefore bringing up issues such as how to test early and how often. The test team also needs to address another big question: how to prepare the test quickly and still achieve optimum coverage. We believe that test automation can help us resolve the challenges associated with Agile testing. And let me explain this with a quick example. It takes about 10 minutes on average to run a test, where each tester is costing $40 per hour, and you have a total of 500 tests to run. The manual testing cost and time in this case will be $3,333 per test cycle and 83.3 hours respectively. That is over 2 man weeks. Now, an automated test tool can run that same exact set of tests overnight across multiple computers, thereby saving significant cost and time. Plus, you can run these tests in the nightly build and not just at the end of a sprint. In our next slide, we're going to see some of the major advantages that test automation offers you. But before that, here's a question for you, the audience. We would like to know, what are some of the challenges you are facing while testing in your Agile projects? Your options are incomplete requirements, lack of coordination among teams, not enough time to test, or all of the above. And you have a total of 30 seconds to respond now on the right-hand side of your screen. Okay, it looks like we have the results, and the majority of our audience has shared that their biggest problem area is insufficient time to test. Garima, what's your take on this?
Indeed, Lisa. Well, I agree with most of our respondents here. Our team also noticed it as one of the biggest challenges that at times, due to insufficient time, we were not able to get optimum test coverage. We will discuss this issue in detail in our coming slides.
Thanks, Garima. Now, let's discuss how test automation can help you. The first advantage is that automation is efficient in testing with incremental builds. It also ensures that the application is and continues to be in good shape with each new sprint. The Agile Development team also seeks enhanced collaboration with the testing team and now can see them as a partner rather than the quality police. The test group needs to further extend support to the business team and other stakeholders by helping them refine the acceptance criteria and explain the risks. Running tests over and over again gives you an assurance that the new code, which was added to the system, does not break or destabilize anything. It also certifies that the system is working and that the new code is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. As Agile teams need to test continuously, automation provides the required speed and helps ascertain that the feature implemented during a given iteration or sprint is actually done. Automation is also very useful in addressing and fulfilling these high testing demands and is essential for Agile projects due to their need for frequent regression testing. Plus, automated test scripts just run fast. They don't get tired or bored or make any human errors. And with a relatively small investment in tools and test scripts, your testers can focus on exploring the new and complex part of the application, while the automation tool may test the existing code. And while automation may be the answer, just going out and getting yourself an automation tool is not the solution. What you also need along with that is a proven automation testing strategy and a skilled test team. This involves designing an effective automation solution that supports quicker maintenance, faster ramp-up time, and distributed ownership. We've established that automated testing facilitates change and delivers working software in Agile. Practices such as test-driven design or test-driven development, as well as continuous integration, are all complemented by the automated tests. Now, we believe that the need for automation is reflected in the different Agile principles. The first one is identifying the right automation scope at all levels. Now, this implies that identifying the right candidate helps in getting the optimum coverage. In Agile projects, the features are developed iteratively and accordingly, so it's difficult to identify good regression candidates that can be automated. We recommend including acceptance cases for regression tests. We should also consider including UI, API web services, unit tests, etc. for multi-layered automation. Garima, would you like to tell us why this is recommended?
Sure, Lisa. We have noticed that when automation is done at all levels, that is unit, user interface, and web services, it brings in a positive impact on the ROI. The automated unit tests prevent backtracking and help maintain the development momentum. Testing across multiple levels helps us in getting optimum test coverage as well as save significant time and cost. For example, any tedious or repetitive task involved in developing software is a candidate for automation, say build installation.
Thanks, Garima. And now we're going to discuss automation storyboard. In Agile, the requirement verification and validation happens continuously through participation in iteration planning and story narration meetings. The automation stories are then updated regularly on the storyboard and can really help in giving insight to what has been automated so far. These stories have to be broken into acceptance tests, which are then automated. Now let's have a look at the tools that we can use on a project. A lot of paid and open source tools are available in the market that can be used to automate test cases. It's really important to have the knowledge about the automation tools that will suit your requirements in the best possible manner. Remember, these requirements may vary depending on the size, time, or cost allocated for the project. And now measurement. Agile says that building the entire functionality in one go will not deliver the desired results. It encourages the teams to break down the entire system into small modules which can further be completed in small iterations. So by making these iterations, customers have more control over the system and can measure development through different reports generated by the tools. Now, it's always a good practice to include the development and testing metrics while measuring the sprint progress. By combining information from engineering and testing, a clear and transparent status is generated and then shared within the team. Now, let's talk about collaboration. we believe that communication is one of the key factors that drives teams toward their goals. It facilitates the exchange of ideas, plans, or problems. Now, since the whole team is involved with sprint planning, the team members who focus on automation have a chance to think about what needs to be automated. Automated testing goes hand in hand with test-driven development, or TDD. While TDD tests the codes, automated testing ensures that the application is functioning properly when accessed through the user interface. Furthermore, you can also automate the testing of back-end services such as databases to ensure that the application is functioning correctly behind the scenes. And moreover, the best architectures, requirements, and designs emerge from self-organizing teams. Moving on, let's talk about review. At regular intervals, the team should review and analyze the various ways it can become more effective, and then fine-tune and adjust its behavior accordingly. Feedback is always very useful if the sprint is to be done rapidly. Therefore, customers are contacted frequently in Agile, unlike the traditional methods, and they have a clear insight into the system. All Agile technophiles understand the need for constant review and feedback, and so is the case with automated testing. At the end of each sprint, we recommend that you review 3 areas, which are, first, what new functionality should be automated and added to your continuous integration or regression testing suite. Second, you should decide the scripts that should be rewritten or removed from your automation suite. And finally, review the areas that were not automated but did have significant defects associated with them, and then change accordingly. And now I'm going to move on and talk about continuous integration. We believe that using continuous integration helps keeping the feedback loop short. It entails bringing in your team's code together as often as possible, at least once per day, to ensure that the software as a whole is working as the changes are made. Now, in its simplest form, continuous integration is used to make sure that your code still compiles and links. Now, when combined with automated testing, though, the value of continuous integration can dramatically increase. So these are some of the key attributes that you should incorporate in your automation strategy. And in the coming slides, we're going to be talking about how we use the principles and approach that we've discussed up until now for one of our leading clients. Now, this example involved one of our Fortune 50 clients who was working on building an online content delivery product while maintaining data isolation with various tenants. They also integrate with the third-party payment gateways, and the user interface is exposed via web, iPad, and iPhone. The team involved was using a complete cloud infrastructure for development, testing, and deployment purposes. Now, this project started as a short proof of concept that was to be completed in about 5 to 6 months. Our team began the sprint with high velocity, and based on the given requirements, they concluded that automation may not be required at all the levels. However, trouble started pouring in after the initial 3 months as the product team started getting more traction from the business, and this POC grew into a full-fledged business unit for this client. There were demands to add more and more functionalities and release the product to the end users fast. So here, the team started losing its velocity. Though we were still in line with the optimal burn down, it was apparent that we needed to incorporate automation and fast. Garima will now share with us the test automation approach that we used to solve this problem for our clients. Garima?
Thanks, Lisa. So Lisa shared the client requirements with you. We worked on them and came up with an automation approach that I am going to tell you about to address these challenges. So the team re-examined these issues and came up with this approach that focused on committing automated script at code repository, adding subset of automated test scripts in CI, multi-layer automation, and publishing results across teams. As team found out that functional automation alone will not help achieve optimum test coverage, so we extended the scope of automation and started developing the solution keeping every layer in mind, right from the UI, application logic, web services, and APIs. For example, in our application, when a user account is added on a new user screen, the automated test would verify that the screen functioned properly and the database tables were updated when the information was entered. Team also planned to automate other manual tasks that were time-intensive, such as test data preparation, build deployment on test servers, post-execution analysis, to name a few. While identifying what to automate and where to apply these principles to, we also figured out what not to automate. The edge cases and the tests that require exploration for a given functionality are generally not good automation candidates. The team focused on core functionality areas that maximize our automated testing ROI. Using continuous integration assures the success of any given sprint. Our team used CI2 and integrated builds as well as nightly regression testing. We made unit testing a priority and worked on pairing the development and test team on various tool sets. Now to ensure that the unit tests get carried out on regular basis, the first thing that automation team did was generating shells for the classes that needs to be tested. Team used an open source tool, JUnit Docklet, to generate thousands of shells for the classes with the methods to be tested upon. You can see one of the templates generated by this tool. These skeletons were then checked into the subversion, and then the development team was given the task to populate them. Following this, the testing team worked on unit tests provided by the developers and refactored them based on the testing needs. As the development team was working in pairs on the coding and on unit testing, the testing team received a build with relatively lesser defects. The team leveraged TestNG and its rich framework features to extend the test classes with different set of test data. Our team religiously used data provider, grouping, dependent on, configuration annotation, etc., and created scenarios out of the test classes. TestNG was also configured as a plugin in the Maven form file. So every time a new build was created, these tests would execute automatically. After a thorough feasibility analysis on the application with several tools like Selenium, What-If, QTP, etc., team found out that Selenium was the right functional testing tool that can be used to perform functional test automation. Team utilized features that were defined by Impetus Test Automation Framework, and with the customization and user extensions created in this framework, the team could use Selenium IDE efficiently to create and maintain the test scripts. The screenshot is showing a keyword-driven automated test script created in Selenium, which is taking objects from the object repository and fetching data from the test data file. The robustness of the script showed when teams saved hours by executing same script on different browsers with different configurations. The dynamic and intelligent result reporting helped in quick analysis of the results. As initially, the requirements and specifications were not very clear, the team leveraged peer testing to develop system understanding. New functionalities were added frequently and the team was expanding too. So it was a need of the hour to learn the application behavior quickly. Pairing the development team with the testing team helped verifying testing across layers. So as the system exposed various APIs and team had to test them to certify the non-functional requirements, the team created non-functional requirement test scripts using SOAP UI and tested different aspects of non-functional requirements. They may include multi-tenancy, security, personalization, etc. Additionally, the environment also got created on the cloud. After deploying these built on test servers, the NFR test scripts are executed automatically. Team used Hudson for continuous integration. Hudson was configured on the build machine on the cloud, and when any build failed in between, a mail was sent to the development team or the testing team. One example that I can recall at this time is that we configured the build to generate at 6 p.m. on a daily basis. The team also configured the option of post-commit hook, so whenever there is any change at the subversion level, it would trigger the build at Hudson and would execute the test cases. Now to generate various metrics and to understand the quality of code and code coverage, we use open source tool Sonar for reporting. Several other code analysis tools plugins were used with Sonar like PMD, Check Style, Cobertura, Find Bugs, etc. These tools helped in checking for the redundant code and whether the coding guidelines were followed. The code coverage tools identified the areas that were not covered through automated testing. Sonar helped us in generating detailed reports with in-depth analysis. The screenshot also shows the amount of code covered.
Great, thanks, Garima. And now I'd like to share with you some of the things that we learned working on this project. First, as a single team, we were working toward a common goal continuously and in parallel, and under circumstances that could and do change rapidly. The team was able to successfully resolve most of the Agile testing challenges. We used a spectra of tools for end-to-end automation and used the validation techniques to regularly check whether we were on the right track. We didn't limit ourselves to the functional automation only, though. We also automated the functional, non-functional API web services testing and other repetitive tasks such as test data preparation, test data feeds, configuring the supported systems, post-execution analysis, report generation, etc. Now, this significantly helped us to preserve the individual bandwidth that could be further utilized to explore the product. Additionally, adding and executing automated tests with continuous integration helped in discovering issues that would have been unintentionally affected by the current sprint's updates. We also actively worked with our customer to create acceptance tests and then automated them. We used the number or percent of successful acceptance test cases to determine our progress on the project. Let me just note that pair programming and pair testing is essential for successful automation. In this case, it brought the development and testing team together and helped us in determining how individual programmer and testers can best contribute to the project. The high level of automation played a very important role in improving the productivity and speed in sprints. The testing team enhanced and leveraged the existing frameworks to achieve automation. And now I'd just like to take a moment and tell you a little bit about what we here at Impetus have to offer. We offer product engineering and technology R&D services for software product development. We offer comprehensive end-to-end testing engineering solutions that reduce the product development cost, improves quality, and reduces the time to market. With ongoing investments in research and application of emerging technology areas, innovative business models, and an agile approach, we partner with our client base comprising large-scale ISVs and technology innovators to deliver cutting-edge software products. Our expertise spans the domains of testing, mobile, large data management, SaaS, cloud computing, social media, web technologies, performance engineering, open source, data analytics, among others. Well, it looks like we're going to get to some of those questions. It looks like the first one here, how can I introduce automation when the user interface of my application is getting changed every week? How do you handle that?
Well, based on our experience, in that case, you would need to keep the automation from UIN on low priority. You might want to consider automating other levels like unit or APIs and leverage its benefits. And with this, you will be able to improve test coverage at the layers below user interface, and that will help in defect prevention and minimize functional defects from the UI.
Okay, I've got another one for you. This one asks, or it says, the application that we're testing is huge. Though we're not truly agile, some of the challenges that you mentioned overlap. The biggest challenge in front of us is to achieve optimum test coverage in a limited time. And do you have any suggestions? Garima, any suggestions?
Yes. Well, there is no shortcut to achieve optimum test coverage. Optimum test coverage can be achieved by having strong automation strategy in place that focuses on performing automation across layers that we discussed during the webinar. And as per the automation pyramid that we have defined, the test automation needs to be started from the unit testing or developer-based testing. Then the APIs and web services layers needs to be automated. That would be able to provide integration test automation for your team. Post that, you should also focus on GUI functional automation and then the non-functional areas like performance, security, etc.
Okay, those are some great suggestions. Someone else would like to know that the Impetus test framework that I referred to in the webinar, they would like to know, is it licensed and downloadable?
We are not a tool provider or a company selling its product. The Impetus test automation framework that we have developed is free for our clients and is provided as a value-added service with the engagement that we run with them. The best part that our framework provides is that it enables no vendor lock-in.
Okay, and we've got another question here, and this one asks, does Selenium recognize the Telerik controls? Garima?
Yeah, well, there is no direct way to recognize the Telerik controls, but definitely we can work on user extensions that can enable this identification. Yeah.
Okay, let me just check here and see if there's any more questions before we end here. Okay, we have received some additional questions, but we'll be addressing them actually in a follow-up email to our audience. Some of those questions actually include why we use Selenium Framework in our solution to automation, and someone would like us to recommend an automation tool for Android and BlackBerry device testing. Another question asks, do you use any automation framework such as Fitness? And again, all these will be addressed in a follow-up email to you. I'd just like to thank our audience today for their time, and we really hope that this discussion was a learning experience for you and will add value to your testing initiatives. Now, if you have any further questions, feel free to email us at inquiry@impetus.com, or you can visit our website, www.impetus.com. Once again, thank you so much for joining us today, and have a great day.